Hey, what's up everybody? Today, I'm going to go over all the essential tips and tricks you need to become a Mishima master on Leverless and or Hitbox. Now, I know a lot of people will say that it takes years to master Mishima movement, and while that is somewhat true, I think it becomes much easier on a Leverless controller. Now before we start, there is one thing I'm going to say. I use a different button layout than most people, and that's because I'm on a Pico board. Now I have these settings because it's actually possible through the Tekken options to map your left analog stick to the right analog stick on a PlayStation 4 or 5 controller. So I basically took that same idea and I applied it to my Haute 42 T16. You can do this by going into the configuration settings of the board itself, setting the D-pad mode to left analog, then going into your pin mapping configurations, and then setting any button you like to either the left or right D-pad input. I'll explain more about this later. If you don't have a Pico board controller, you can do this through the Steam controller settings, or if you're on PS5 only and you don't have a Pico board, you're going to have to do some rewiring to get my exact inputs the same way, but everything can be done with standard inputs as well, so nothing to worry there. First things first, I'm going to explain my button layout. The left button here is my left button, down is going to be crouch, right is right, and the button where my thumb is on the bottom is up. Then for the attack buttons, left punch is here, right punch is here, left kick is here, and right kick is over here, so pretty standard layout. Then I mapped the left analog stick right input on the top here, and the left analog stick left input down here. Now for me personally, I don't use this setup when I'm playing for real. I actually use the top and bottom buttons above left punch and below left kick to do the directional inputs for the left analog stick, but I realize not everybody has a 16 button controller, so I've had this video set up for everybody who has a typical 8 button layout. And of course for the SOCD settings, I'm using the typical ones, so if you push down and up at the same time, it'll give you a neutral input. Now if you're on a controller with a Pico board or playing on Steam, I highly recommend mapping the left analog stick to your buttons on the front here like I am. This makes things like Korean backdash and wave dashes so much easier to do on a leverless controller, and I think it's one of the big advantages of playing leverless for Tekken in general. If you're not using this, I think you're leaving a lot of easy execution on the table, so give it a try and look at how easy it is to backdash. You have to try it to understand how good it really is, so give it a shot. Let's get started with the basic Mishima Wavedash input. I'm going to assume you know how to do this normally, which would be forward, neutral, down, down, forward, done quickly, and it'll look something like this. So using the face buttons, instead of tapping forward out of the Wavedash with our left finger, we're going to use our right ring finger to tap forward on the left analog stick to easily get the crouch cancel out of the Wavedash. I recommend starting off slow and then slowly trying to increase your speed. Remember, getting consistent inputs is better than getting fast, inconsistent ones. When you're practicing, I recommend doing what I'm doing here, starting really slowly, no matter what button layout you're using, and then slowly increasing the speed as you feel more comfortable. Practice this a couple of minutes a day and I'm sure you'll be able to pick up your speed in no time. You can add things like Korean backdashes, side steps, and if you get a jump like that, start over from the beginning and practice a little bit slower to get you to go cleanly as possible. Now on the two-player side, things get a little bit more awkward because you have to use your ring and middle finger. So it's just a mirrored input of the one-player side. You're going to be doing forward, neutral, down, down, forward, releasing to neutral, and then tapping forward again. But this is where I feel that the button input layout with the left analog stick really shines on a Hitbox or a leverless controller because it really makes it much easier to do and it takes a lot of stress off your left index finger. So again, like the one player side, just practice doing it slowly before you try to increase the speed and just be consistent. And once you get better, you can definitely make it go faster. A tip I have for the two-player side is to not really try to tap with your fingers, but to more roll with your wrist. And I'm not sure about you, but for me, I feel like this method really takes a lot of strain off both my wrist and my fingers. So just try to kind of tilt from side to side, and I feel like it not only gives more precise inputs, but also takes a lot of strain off your hand. So if you haven't tried this method yet, please give it a shot and let me know what you think. And just so you can get a reference point, this is what it looks like. Now it's time to take a look at the part that everyone's looking forward to, the reason why you play Mishima in the first place, electrics. So the standard input is forward, neutral, down, down, forward, plus right punch on the same frame to get an electric, to get the good one. So this is the standard input, and I'm going to assume that everyone knows how to do this. Using my recommended input with the left stick forward on the right button over here, all you have to do is push forward, neutral, down, and then with your right ring finger and right middle finger, push both those buttons at the same time to get the electric. And this is really close to playing on a Hitbox cross-up if anybody's tried that, but instead a fully leverless version. And whether you're using the standard version or my recommended left analog stick version, just make sure you go slow and practice consistently until you can always get it when you want. This is a common theme for Mishima stuff. It's much like playing an instrument. You have to go slow, practice slowly, and then slowly increase the speed before you're able to get it consistently. What I like to do is open up practice mode for a few minutes before I do ranked matches and try to see how many of these electrics I can get perfectly without making any mistakes. I usually try to go for 10 in a row without a single drop of any kind. Alright, so standard input for the 2-player side, again just mirrored from 1-player side, it's forward, neutral, down, down, forward, plus 2 at the same time. A common issue a lot of people have on 2-player side is timing their right punch incorrectly. So if you're getting a crouch jab, that means you're pushing right punch too fast, and if you're getting a normal electric, that means you're pushing it too slow. So just try to practice until you can get it correctly. Now if you're using my recommended method with the left analog stick on the right hand, what you're going to do is push left with your left ring finger, go to neutral, then push down with your middle finger, and then push like this. So you're getting left and right punch at the same time with your right ring finger and your right middle finger, and it'll look something like this. Next up we have dash electrics, and dash electrics are really useful for trying to catch a sidestepping opponent or for closing the gap after a blocked electric. So what you're going to want to do is tap forward 2 times with your left index finger and then just input down and then down forward plus right punch. I think that if you can do a regular electric, doing the dash electric isn't too difficult, so just make sure to practice this version too. Dash electric on the 2-player side is again a mirror version of the 1-player side, except this time we're going to be tapping forward twice with our left ring finger and then using our right hand to do the input, or if you're doing the standard input, just do the standard input. Done fast, it would look something like this. Getting it to somewhere around this speed is more than possible with a few minutes of practice every day on a leverless controller. Now we're going to get into Wavedash Electrics, and I'm going to start by saying that you shouldn't worry too much about this if you're a beginner or low intermediate Mishima player, because it is one of the more difficult inputs to do in the game. I think it's better to just focus on your dash electrics first, then once you can do those consistently, move on to these Wavedash Electrics. So again, all we're really doing is linking a wave dash motion into an electric motion. So make sure you have your wave dash down properly, make sure you have your electric down properly, and then start to practice this. I think it's easier just to look at it and to understand how it's done than for me to talk about it, because I've done enough explaining, so I'm going to shut up for a bit and just let you watch what it looks like. Next up we got instant while standing attacks. I'll just come out right and say that these are hard to do even on leverless because the timing is really tight. The goal is you want to cancel your wave dash animation with a back input. I'm going to assume you know what while standing moves are for Mishima, so I'm just going to skip explaining exactly what it is and how it works and just get into how to do it. This is what it should look like. If you end up getting a regular wind god fist, that means you didn't cancel your wave dash and you did the back input too slow. If you get a regular back plus right punch input, that means that you canceled the wave dash too quickly or you pushed back plus right punch on the same frame. Make sure you practice this from the 2-player side as well. There's really no trick to this other than just practicing it over and over again because it is a little bit difficult to get the timing down. So good luck and happy practicing! Alright, now for the real reason why I know you're here in this video, to learn how to do perfect electrics. There are two inputs we can use for a perfect electric. We can either do forward, down, down forward with no neutral input like we have here, or we can do forward, neutral, and then down, forward, plus right punch like we have here. Both inputs work, and it really just depends which one you find most comfortable to do. While the inputs are easy on Leverless with my setup, I find the timing still difficult, so I'm gonna shut up, let you watch, and figure out how it's done. And that's about it for what I think are the most essential things to learn on Leverless for Mishima players. If you enjoyed this video and you found it helpful, please consider liking and subscribing because it helps me out as a content creator. Until next time, thank you for watching and take care.